happy with me and everyone will hear exactly what they want to hear. Criminals are great. I love criminals. We should let all of them out of prison, and we should, allow them to terrorize working class people when they're trying to get to work. And that's actually going to make everybody's lives better. So
yeah, and let me do the other half.
If that's going to make everyone happy, then fine. Okay, I give up. I give up. Okay, criminals are great unless they're white. If they're white, we should put them in prison for the rest of their lives.
Oh my God, if they're right wing, life sentence. Okay, anyways, so I know, how dare we be principled? We should be unfair to the right. I know. We should be unfair to fellow Americans. I know. So
lawmakers, this is a small group of activists who like to bully, who like to go to city council meetings, who like to go to various rallies and essentially be loud, be threatening, be aggressive until they get their way. And for far too long, the Democratic Party has been terrified of these little mobs of people, these little mobs of activists, and have basically just carried out what these activists want. And I just think that they need to be a little smarter than falling prey to the whims of various activist groups, because they are not representative of the majority of Americans.
In reality, we're talking about individuals whose politics is mostly based on, some fringe issue or some cultural issue that they have. It's not just that they care about that issue, it's that they've taken that issue and they've made it part of their identity, the core of who they are. And it's almost like what you would expect from religious zealots, and so there's a fundamentalism involved in the way that they treat these issues. And to be honest, I just don't really care to collaborate with any other leftist ever again at this point.
Yeah,
that's where I'm at, because they come on the show, they build a name for themselves, and then they build a bigger name for themselves, trashing us as if they don't know who we are, as if they haven't worked with us, they don't know what our actual political values are.
Well, Anna, I have worked with TYT, and to be certain, I worked with you for such a brief period of time that you all can't take any credit for my success or whatever measure of success that I may have. I think you all could check your books. I think I made maybe $3,000 off of you throughout the entire time that we knew each other. I want to talk to you, the audience, and I want to share with you why I would put such a video together. And honestly, this is just the beginning of the video. That was 2 minutes of Cenk and Ana making the case for why my good brother, Mayor Mondale Robinson, quit live on air on this channel, left TYT. I left TYT many years ago for reasons that had nothing to do with their politics, because their politics at the time were spot on. Back around 2020, absolutely, that was the place to be. And I was happy to be there, with the exception of some contractual issues that are neither here nor there, right? But I was a fan of TYT. And quite honestly, I still absolutely am a fan and a brother and a comrade and a colleague of Dr. Rashad Ritchie. Solidarity, my brother. John Aurora. I can't wait till we get a chance to review some movies when things settle down and we don't have fascism knocking at the door. JR, absolutely loved working with him. I've been a fan of JR since 2008 when I first discovered TYT. Their producer, Brett, absolutely love that brother. So many people over there that I have great respect and admiration for. So you might ask, why would I put this type of video together? Because I know a lot of people have not been able to pay as much attention to the details as we have. For the past 2 years in particular, I have personally observed the rightward shift away from the very principles and policies that made me admire the stance that they were taking at TYT at the time. I've seen a shift, not in the entire company, but in the two leaders, Cenk Uygur and Ana Kasparian, as you've seen in just the first few minutes of this video. And I have so many more examples to give you. I ask that you buckle up and give me your attention for as long as you can give it. If you need to come back and watch the rest of it, please do that, because I am going to make a case, and the case deserves and requires receipts. And this is what I'm going to tell you. Based on everything that I have seen, based on everything that I have observed, based on just the few receipts that I have in this video, I can confidently say without any hesitation, any reservation, and without any guilt that yes, you should leave TYT. You should unsubscribe from their channel. If you are a member, you should cancel your membership. Why? because we are absolutely at a time in American history where we do not need people who ostensibly represent the left, people who ostensibly represent progressivism, and certainly don't need people who speak on behalf of Black issues only to start wavering at this point in history when we know without a shadow of a doubt who Donald Trump is, what MAGA is, what fascism is, and where we are on the scale of fascism, where we are in the progression towards a full totalitarian state that is at the service of MAGA and Donald Trump. What we must have right now are media institutions that have no fear and no reservation calling out and standing up against MAGA instead of equivocating. And instead of trying to convince themselves and others that maybe MAGA really isn't as bad as they literally say they are, as what they have outlined in Project 2025, as what they have stated they wanted to do to every marginalized group in this country. So where do we begin? I want to begin with why it is so problematic that Ana Kasparian took a story that we on the left, we in progressive circles, as a matter of fact, mainstream media, even mainstream media did their due diligence to understand that the story of the Venezuelan gangs that had allegedly taken over an apartment complex in Aurora, Colorado, was not what right-wing media was saying it was. And here's the problem. It wasn't just right-wing media. It wasn't just MAGA that was pushing this narrative. It was Ana Kasparian on the platform of TYT, building up the fear and the xenophobia that was a fundamental cornerstone of Donald Trump's victory in 2024. Here is the misrepresentation of the truth by Ana Kasparian on the Young Turks.
Some video footage that shows armed men confronting a driver in the parking lot of the apartment complex. Let's put that up. So if you look closely at the kind of upper right-hand side, you see a car parked and you see individuals approaching that vehicle armed with guns. Luckily, in this case, the footage doesn't show anyone getting hurt or getting shot. But apparently this particular apartment complex, according to some of the residents and former residents, has been riddled with all sorts of gang violence over the last year. But this incident has sparked a big debate and I believe some gaslighting about whether or not there is a problem with Venezuelan migrant gangs basically taking over apartment buildings or causing violent crimes at these apartment buildings. And the local government can't seem to keep its facts straight or its story straight. After that, it appeared that the state and local leaders kind of went into panic mode because they started to claim that there's no problem at all. What do you mean? This is a figment of your imagination. In fact, the governor, Jared Polis, claims that the allegations are a figment of your imagination. And Aurora's interim police chief said that the gangs had not taken over one of the complexes. Now, depending on what you're hearing different things. And whether or not this is a widespread problem in Aurora, Colorado remains to be seen. Let's be clear about that. But the issue of this Venezuelan gang carrying out violent acts and crimes in the area, there seems to be a lot of evidence of that, while the Democratic lawmakers and leaders in the state and local level want to pretend like it's not happening at all.
I need you to check the framing before I even get to the evidence, because I want to show you evidence that proves that the entire narrative of the Venezuelan gangs that ostensibly took over an apartment complex was manufactured by a public relations firm that was hired by the slumlord landowner, that was hired by the slumlord landlord. If look at the screen, this is the condition of the neighborhood of the apartment complex that instead of addressing the slumlord hired a public relations firm to stir up anti-immigration sentiment and fear and xenophobia all over the country. And this was a story that you would hear from Fox News, Newsmax, OANN, all of the right-wing echo chamber. They were forwarding this narrative. And what was the truth of the matter? The truth of the matter was there was no gang that took over the apartment complex. It was a spin. It was a spin in order to protect a landlord who didn't want to take care of his property. But I want you to catch the framing of what she said. She framed, listen again. I got to play it. Listen again at how she framed it at the very end.
Venezuelan gang carrying out violent acts and crimes in the area. There seems to be a lot of evidence of that, while the Democratic lawmakers and leaders in the state and local level want to pretend like it's not happening at all.
The Democratic, listen, if you've been a part of my channel for any amount of time, you know that I carry one of the greatest and the most significant critiques of the Democratic Party as we know it today. I have no friends in the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party owes me no favors and I owe them nothing. But to have the largest progressive media outlet doing the literal work of right-wing conservatism, of xenophobia, of bigotry, and spreading misinformation and then framing it as a problem of the Democratic Party, when in reality it is a problem of a greedy landlord who was sophisticated enough to hire a public relations firm that can do the evil machinations of spinning a story that was the problem of the slumlord into being a problem of a Venezuelan gang. And Ana Kasparian did her part in spreading that narrative through progressive circles. And that xenophobia, that's exactly not just hers, but all of it combined. All of the millions of people who were scared by that same story is exactly why Donald Trump and Stephen Miller are preparing to deport not only brown immigrants, but to deport black immigrants, aided and abetted by TYT. Yes, you should cancel your membership. Yes, you should unsubscribe. Yes, you should walk away from TYT until they get their act together. Let's keep going. The next problem that I have is exactly what Mayor Mondale Robinson said on this channel a few nights ago. He said that when you go out of your way to try to convince everyone to give MAGA the benefit of the doubt, they're not really as bad as they say they are. They're not really as bad as their policies dictate that they're going to be. In actuality, if you get to know them one-on-one, some of them are really nice people. The insidiousness of that technique suggests that you should accept MAGA based on individual personality and ignore the collective intention of harm that this group, MAGA, Donald Trump, Make America Great Again, what they intend on doing not only to immigrants, not only to migrants, not only to asylum seekers, but to black people, to women, to the LGBTQIA community, to the entirety of democracy. You want us to sit back, Ana Kasparian, and because your neighbor, who was a Donald Trump supporter, was nice to you, that's the anecdote by which we should reevaluate our entire assessment of who and what MAGA says they are? The absurdity of it all. Listen in.
And so I'm like trying to get his bicycle like up the stairs. And all of a sudden this man stops me. His name's Jeff. And he's like, hey, let me help you out with that. And he starts helping me out. He stopped everything he was doing to help me out. And then Jeff and I became very close. You know, one of my neighbors who I really like, he was my favorite person in the entire building. And years go by. One day we're in an HOA meeting, homeowners association, and one of the people living in the building said something about Trump that was negative. I don't remember what it is. And Jeff whispers in my ear, oh, she's going to start trashing Trump. I'm out of here. And it hit me that he's a Trump supporter. We had never talked about politics before. And I'm like, so I got to know Jeff before I knew what his politics were. Incredibly kind guy. He helps everyone in this building with anything they might need. And so that woke me up to, wait a minute, not all Trump supporters are like dangerous, evil individuals. And yes, it was stupid that I thought that to begin with. Like, I'm embarrassed admitting that, but it's just how I believed. And that kind of was one of the moments where like a light bulb went off and something was telling me you need to scratch beneath the surface a little more because you don't have a realistic view of what's going on here.
One anecdote, and Ana is ready to completely dismiss her entire framing of the world. Now, that's her personal prerogative. If that's what makes her change her mind about everything that she has ever said, that's her business. But for those of us who don't use politics for a career or commentary as a career, but we do this because it is our passion, and we do this because it is a matter of life and death for many of us. We do this because the issues matter to us. We have already measured our decisions. We've already weighed these things in the balance. We know what it means. When I know exactly what it means when I say what I say about MAGA and what they represent and what they intend on doing. And so even if this anecdote is 100% absolutely true, it really goes to show you the lack of depth that is involved in the core leadership. The captain and the co-captain. The co-captain has not even thought her politics through enough to be able to survive one friendly encounter with someone from MAGA. And while I was at TYT, I absolutely did love the way that they spoke about racial issues. I won't front on that. I can't pretend on that. They absolutely, when they were on air, when I was there and when I was on air, they seemed to have all of the right talking points as it pertains to justice. But I want to play this clip again that I played at the very beginning because I didn't say anything about it at the very beginning, but I want you to listen to what Ana Kasparian says here.
Happy with me and everyone will hear exactly what they want to hear. Criminals are great. I love criminals. We should let all of them out of prison, and we should, allow them to terrorize working class people when they're trying to get to work. And that's actually going to make everybody's lives better. So
yeah, and let me do the other half.
If that's going to make everyone happy, then fine. Okay, I give up. Okay, criminals are great unless they're white. If they're white, we should put them in prison for the rest of their lives.
Oh my God, if they're right wing, life sentence. Okay, anyways, so I know, how dare we be principled? We should be unfair to the right. I know. We should be unfair to fellow Americans. I know. So
yes, because as we all know, Ana Kasparian, the real problem in the United States of America is the fact that people have not been fair to white criminals or to white people. And not to mention right wingers, because America has been cruel to right wingers. And the biggest problem is that we just don't show compassion enough. We don't show patience enough. We are not kind enough. We're not thoughtful enough to really consider the plight of white people, Ana Kasparian, are we? Or right wingers. Those are the groups who have a problem in the United States of America. And another thing, the last thing that we need in progressive spaces are individuals who take not only their name and their reputation that they built off of your dollars, off of your subscriptions, off of your memberships, and take that to right-wing media. And in order to make nice with them, in order to cozy up with them, they get on there and they trash the left. They trash progressivism. They trash Democrats, which I don't care too much about. But what Ana Kasparian and Cenk Uygur are trying to do is they're trying to present themselves as the reasonable people. The reasonable people who can be okay with anti-immigration rhetoric. The reasonable people who in a moment of exasperation can be okay with the white grievance complex and with the idea that right wingers are oppressed in this country. The last thing we need are people who are going to go into the spaces of our rivals. You might not want to call them enemies, but they view us as enemies. You might not want to consider them rivals, but they view us as rivals. And we simply cannot have the largest progressive media platform in the country be one that is more interested in making nice with people like Glenn Beck and Pierce Morgan than they are with the left, than they are with progressives, than they are with the very people that Ana Kasparian is talking bad about in this clip.
This is a small but incredibly loud and influential faction of the Democratic Party. This is not indicative of all Democrats. This is not indicative of all Democratic lawmakers. This is a small group of activists who like to bully, who like to go to city council meetings, who like to go to various rallies.
Oh no, don't go to a city council meeting. I have to pause. She's not done yet. But how ridiculous is that statement, especially when we have just come through 4 years of Republicans, MAGA, QAnoners, flooding and disrupting school board proceedings, city council meetings. And why did they do it? During COVID, they did it because they didn't want to wear a mask. Why do they do it? They do it now because they don't want any school to teach critical race theory. But Ana wants to use the fact that maybe she's seen a handful of leftists go to these meetings. The fact of the matter is that we need somebody who is going to aggressively organize to make sure we show up at more meetings. We need to be at every school board meeting. We need to be at every city council meeting. Why? Because number one, conservatives are there and they're using that show of force to make sure that they get their agenda done. But that's not what Ana Kasparian wants from us. She wants us to play nice with people who she can't even admit are fascists.
This is a small group of activists who like to bully, who like to go to city council meetings, who like to go to various rallies and essentially be loud, be threatening, be aggressive until they get their way. And for far too long, the Democratic Party has been terrified of these little mobs of people, these little mobs of activists, and have basically just carried out what these activists want. And I just think that they need to be a little smarter than falling prey to the whims of various activist groups because they are not representative of the majority of Americans.
They are not representative of the majority of Americans. So what does that mean, Ana? Does that mean that we who are not in the majority, we who are in the minority, we must succumb to the whims of the majority, the tyranny of the majority? What does that mean? Because the masses believe something, the masses believe that climate change is a hoax. Should we succumb to the whim of the masses that believe that climate change is a hoax? The masses in the United States of America thought that the economy was doing bad before Donald Trump got reelected. As soon as Donald Trump got reelected and has not even been inaugurated yet, all of a sudden they think the economy is doing great. Should we succumb to the whims of the majority? Is the majority always right? No, that's number one. But number two, I guarantee you that there are more Americans who agree with us than agree with you, than agree with MAGA. And the problem is that we have suffered over the last 4 years underneath a regime, a media regime that has relentlessly manufactured consent. What do I mean? Everywhere you turn, the algorithm is bringing you a right winger. Everywhere you turn, your next video up on YouTube is someone from the conservative movement. Everywhere you turn, on Fox News is on in your gym. Fox News is on at the bar. Fox News is on at the military base. Everywhere we have turned in this country for the last 4 years, we have been inundated with right-wing propaganda. And so, of course, it looks like the majority is going with the right-wing agenda. But even if the majority goes that way, we need progressive media that will hold the line and not say, if we can't beat them, join them. Now, I need to pause. There's more video. There's more examples of why I'm getting ready to say exactly what I need to pause and tell you. If the leaders of TYT no longer reflect your values, you absolutely have the right and you very well should cancel your membership. You should unsubscribe from their channels. You should unfollow them off of social media and then do what? Pour your energy as well as your resources into actual progressives. TYT will be just fine. Let them get the money they need from MAGA. If they want to cozy up to MAGA, let MAGA pay for all of their equipment. Let MAGA pay for all of their salaries. Let MAGA pay for their studio, even though that studio has already been paid for now, not only by subscribers, but also by Polymarket. We'll get to that in a minute. But the last thing that we need is for a media company that is going towards MAGA to be funded by anyone who is remotely liberal, anyone who's remotely progressive, certainly no one who is a leftist, and absolutely no one who is black. Why? Because we know the agenda of MAGA is anti-black, it is anti-progressive, it is anti-democratic, and I don't mean Democratic Party, I mean small d democracy. They are anti-democratic, and we do not need our resources going there. And if TYT continues to go in the direction that Ana Kasparian and Cenk Uygur are taking them, then that is going to be a subscriber base that they will slowly but surely be indoctrinating with misinformation, misrepresentations, mixed in with some good politics, mixed in with some good segments. But then here comes the anti-immigrant narrative. Here comes, oh, woe is me, white folk narrative from Ana Kasparian. Oh, here comes, oh, woe is me, the right-wingers are misunderstood, Cenk Uygur narrative. No. Take your subscription somewhere where you can trust. And I don't want you to think that I'm here to just promote myself. No, I'm here to promote my entire crew. I'm here to promote everybody I know who is down for the cause. I'm here to promote my sister Tabitha Speaks Politics. Go subscribe to her channel. Become a patron of hers. Become a member of her setup. Go over there and support the Majority Report with Sam Cedar. That's absolutely good ground to sow into. Go over there and subscribe to Roland Martin Unfiltered. Absolutely the truth when it comes to black politics. Go over there and subscribe to Ole Olurin, an absolutely phenomenal progressive and black voice. Go over there and subscribe to those two dope white boys, Silly and Billy, over there at the Vanguard. Politics on lock. Their perspectives on white supremacy on lock. Their perspective on progressive politics on lock. Go subscribe to them. Go over there and subscribe to my sister, Rebecca Azor, one of the absolute best voices in this political commentary game. Go over there and subscribe to my brothers at Clickbaity Political Thirst Trap, Mayor Mundell Robinson, Marcus Farrell, and yours truly, Benjamin Dixon. And while you're at it, subscribe to this channel, The Benjamin Dixon Show, where I bring you not only my voice, but I bring you the voice of Dr. Karl Mack, who holds it down, one of the most prolific historians of black history ever. Our Saturday morning show, Like It or Not, with Rebecca Azor and DJ Exclusive, right here on The Benjamin Dixon Show. Clickbaity Political Thirst Trap. I go over there, they come over here on The Benjamin Dixon Show. So yes, take your subscriptions, and until such time that TYT corrects the direction of their leaders, and if their leaders are so stubborn as they cannot see the damage that they are doing to the movement that we absolutely need in this moment more than ever, then you have the absolute right to revoke your membership. You have the absolute right to cancel your membership, to unsubscribe, and support the voices that are going to be in this fight. That's what this is about. There is a fight happening right now. And the last thing we need is a media outlet that is benefiting from the millions of the tens of millions of dollars that have been poured into them over the past 20 years, now all of a sudden going to the right. Don't believe me? Let's watch more.
Here, on Twitter, tons of right-wingers follow me. Say, why do they follow me? They hate me. In the past, they just hated me with a burning passion, trolling like crazy. They love to troll, right? It's like the most toxic place on earth was my Twitter mentions. So, but what's happened recently, and you can go and look for yourself, is all of a sudden, a bunch of them are like, well, he is honest about the Democrats, and I didn't know Trump was gonna lower the corporate taxes again. See, when you're honest, people trust you, right? When you earn that trust, then you get them to open their minds. And they don't want another corporate tax cut. The Republicans, they're the voters, they're populists, right? They're like, you're gonna give another handy to the corporations? So if you can just get them past the wall of lies, you could actually say things that are super important.
Cenk, I love you, brother. But if you think that you can convince a person in MAGA who has built their entire worldview off of false premises, off of lies, off of intentional obtuseness, off of revising history, who happily seek the propaganda. In fact, if you are foolish enough to believe that MAGA, who demands the propaganda, why do you think Fox News ratings went down and OANN's ratings and Newsmax ratings went up? Because Newsmax gave them the propaganda that they craved. This isn't Big Brother in 1984 where it's a top-down administration of propaganda. This is a bottom-up. The masses of MAGA are demanding the misinformation. But this is how they convince themselves that TYT, in particular Cenk Uygur and Ana Kasparian, this is how they convince themselves that they are morally superior to the rest of us because they give MAGA the benefit of the doubt. There have been people throughout history that have given an enemy the benefit of the doubt. Chamberlain gave Hitler the benefit of the doubt, and we see how that worked out for him. but it makes them feel good about themselves. Listen to Ana Kasparian now as she grovels before Glenn Beck, in order to establish herself firmly in the right-wing movement. Listen in.
Be honest about my own flaws and my own mistakes, because I bought the mainstream media narrative that there wasn't a migrant crisis.
Really?
And yeah, I did believe it.
Wow.
I believe, because look, I was an idiot, because I mean, who do you trust in today's media landscape?
I know.
Right? There's a lot of liars out there,
Yeah,
and when it comes to mainstream media, the fact of the matter is they do play defense more and more for the Democratic Party. And that's an issue, because there was a time when that didn't happen. And so I still believed in their good faith reporting, even though it turns out, a lot of these reports would omit really important details about what's really going on. And so
Gotta pause there. To say that to someone like Glenn Beck, who has built his entire career, not just Glenn Beck, Fox News, the entirety of the right-wing echo chamber, you're going to grovel before them and say that it is the mainstream. First of all, Glenn Beck and Fox News and right-wing media is mainstream media. See, this is why people are frustrated with TYT, and this is why I'm putting Ana Kasparian and Cenk Uygur. This is why I'm putting this video together, because you need to be able to see it for yourself in one place, hear it from their mouths. The absolute absurdity that they are insisting makes them morally superior to the rest of us. Continue listening.
And so it wasn't until Texas Governor Greg Abbott started busing or sending migrants to blue cities where that woke me up. That woke a lot of people up. And suddenly America realizes, oh, there is a migrant crisis.
Why did that wake you up?
Well, because all of a sudden you're seeing migrants sleeping on the floor in the police department in Chicago because they don't have shelter for these people.
Oh my gosh. Ana, number one, to give credence to a creature like Greg Abbott, a man who was so close to death that he certainly should not be playing with God the way that he plays with him. But a man who pulled a political stunt and sent hundreds, thousands of migrants to cities that, yes, were unprepared for them because they are thousands of miles away from the border, hundreds of miles away from the border. And they are not prepared with shelters. Even though the state of Texas, even though the border states get resources to be prepared, it was a political stunt to do exactly what it did, to create chaos in cities that were not prepared for it. And you give credit to Greg Abbott out of Texas? Are you people seeing what's going on here? If you see what's going on here, please put a comment in the comment section. If you see what's going on here, please share the video. Please hit the subscribe button, because this is absolutely absurd. How would a real leftist in a progressive media organization critique the migrant quote unquote crisis? Number one, we would not buy into the false narratives of Republicans and MAGA who don't ever bring up the fact that the reason there is a migrant crisis at the border is expressly because of American foreign policy. A progressive media company would certainly never take the narrative, the political stunt of Greg Abbott and use that as justification of why you are now becoming anti-immigrant. But instead, we would look and say, why? Why is it that there are flows of migrants coming across our border by the millions? And we will see immediately that it is American foreign policy that is creating the crisis at the border. And if the United States of America would stop interfering in Haiti, would stop interfering in Venezuela, would stop interfering in South and Latin America, in Mexico, then we would not have the so-called crisis at the border. Maybe that's too much work for you guys over there at TYT. No, let me say that again. I know that's not too much work for the producers, because the producers are dope. I know that's not too much work for Dr. Rashad Ritchie and John Aurora, because I know they do their work. They do their homework every day. But perhaps it's too much work for you, Ana. Perhaps you need an easier gig. Perhaps you need something like Dave Rubin has. Let's continue.
Okay, so now, as opposed to us, you've seen me say thousands of terrible things about Donald Trump. But But did I ever tell you, oh my God, Donald Trump lost 5 million jobs? Yeah, he did technically, but that's not fair because he had a 3.5% unemployment rate, which is pretty good before the pandemic. Did he screw up the pandemic? I think he did, right? But any president would have lost a ton of jobs because of the pandemic. So it's true that Joe Biden has a better unemployment rate than Donald Trump pre-pandemic. So and you've seen me criticize Biden a million times, but give Biden credit for that. But you gotta be fair.
The absolute thing that you have to worry about is to be fair to Donald Trump. Is that the most important thing, is to be fair to Donald Trump? Never mind that I reject the framing of your argument here, Cenk. Because the reason 5 million jobs were lost was because of the incompetence and the sheer tomfoolery that we suffered because Donald Trump was president. Had someone else been president, had Hillary Clinton been president, we probably could have contained the pandemic right away like we've done several pandemics. But because of the sheer ignorance of Donald Trump, not only did we lose 5 million jobs, we lost over 1.5 million lives. But we got to be fair to Donald Trump. And it's not just what's being said on the main show. In fact, most of the problems that we have, most of us who are online and we see what's being said, we have a problem with how Cenk and Ana are engaging in social media, cozying up to right-wingers. Look at this tweet from Ben Shapiro. He says, quote, ironically, if Donald Trump had been not named Donald Trump and had indeed shot someone in broad daylight on Fifth Avenue, Alvin Bragg would have let it slide. And here's Ana Kasparian walking in her anti-crime concern, saying, fair point. I don't even, do I really need to tell you the problem with this? Especially as it is added on top of every other example that I've given you. Here's another one. As it pertains to the 2024 election and Kamala Harris and all of her breakout groups, black women for Kamala, black men for Kamala, white men for Kamala, and white women for Kamala. This guy, Tyler Alston Harper, said, am I the only one who finds it weird that people love racially balkanizing themselves into a bunch of siloed Zoom calls based on gender and pigment? Ana Kasparian's right there to do her Ana Kasparian thing. What does she say? It's super gross and divisive. Oh my gosh. That might have been over the top, but I'm gonna keep it in there. So again, I don't want to do this, but because I am fully aware of the times in which we are entering in this country, it is too critical to our survival as a nation, as individual groups of people, as a collective body politic. It's too critical to the survival of democracy itself for us to continue to invest our time, our talent, and our treasures into a company that is moving, at least the leaders are moving away from the very values that we invested into them in the first place. The reason why we invested in them in the first place, they're moving away from that. Cenk and Ana are. That's my opinion. You've seen the videos for yourself. There's more, but I just need to pause and say, I don't want to do this. And this is my opinion. But there's a fact here as well. The fact is that we have the right to not support TYT. You have the right to cancel your membership. You have the right to cancel your subscription. You have the right to walk away and to go and support media outlets that will hold the line for you, for your cause, for democracy, and for justice and truth. And you have the right to be associated with people who are not embarrassed to be associated with you. We don't need people who are going to go on right-wing media and trash the left. If they don't want, if they are so troubled by who and what we are, then why continue to take funds from us? Get all of your funding from MAGA, which brings me to this last part. All money ain't good money, Cenk. 2014, Buddy Roemer, a Republican, his firm invests $4 million in the Young Turks. Fast forward to 2017, TYT, the left-leaning political video network, the Young Turks, raises $20 million. Jeffrey Katzenberg, who is also a Republican, his investment venture capital firm participated in this fundraising. 2024, Cenk Uygur is made an offer he can't refuse. His nephew Hassan Piker refused the offer, but Cenk Uygur did not.
Okay. For Polymarket. But
No, seriously.
Wait. You want to know something about that? You want to know something about those? First of all, they got raided by the FBI.
The CEO did.
Yeah, the CEO did. I don't know if you know this, but they offered me as a starting point of the conversation $1 million to just sponsor my election coverage, and I said no.
Good for you. God bless your heart. I probably would have said yes.
Checking polymarket.com. Polymarket's one of our sponsors, and why I care about them is, number one, it gives you a state of the race as to what other people are thinking, and they're not just thinking it. They've actually put money behind it, and hence they believe this with a lot of conviction. And so that's part of the reason why it's interesting.
In fact, it went as far as naming the studio that you paid for, people. Every subscriber, every member. TYT raised over $400,000 on Indiegogo to build the very studio that they are now naming after Polymarket.
All right, welcome to the Young Turks. Cenk, Uygur, and Kasparian, all back in the studio here, Polymarket Studios in LA.
Thoughts and prayers.
Look, Polymarket, a gambling site, a site that is invested in by Peter Thiel, who is one of the right-wing oligarchs who is behind this fascist takeover of America. Polymarket was promoted by Elon Musk all throughout this election, creating and manufacturing consent in the minds of people that Donald Trump was going to win the election, when Polymarket was nothing more than some of the richest people on the planet pouring in millions of dollars to sandbag the polling on Polymarket, to sandbag the odds on Polymarket. And every day, Elon Musk used that as a tool on Twitter to further entrench the idea of a Donald Trump victory. That is what the TYT studio that your dollars paid for is named after. Listen.
Look, the last thing is about Peter Thiel. So apparently he put money into Polymarket, right? So that people are holding that against us. Now, I didn't know that when we did the deal, but does it matter? I'm gonna say something revolutionary. No, it doesn't matter. Why? Okay, Peter Thiel also financed PayPal. Did anybody ever use PayPal? If you did, guilty. Okay, hold on. Okay, Peter Thiel also financed Facebook. Did anybody ever use Facebook? I know Emma did, because she used to make videos for us on Facebook. Emma, I can't believe you work with Peter Thiel, and Peter Thiel funded organization Facebook. Hey, give me all that money back from all of your videos on Facebook, because Peter Thiel financed Facebook. You're gonna do that? No, you're not gonna do that, right? So it's just a piece of propaganda that they're using against us.
I don't give a shit, okay? I don't care at all. I'm here, I'm speaking my truth.
Folks, I have no interest of doing this type of video ever again. I have never done this type of video before. I absolutely love and respect so many people who work at TYT. But the fact of the matter is that the captain and the co-captain have decided to take the ship in a different direction. And as a result, we now have held hostage the largest share, the largest market share of the total progressive subscriber and membership base in this nation. They control over 50% of the subscriber base and the membership base. And we're going into a season, a time in American history where we simply cannot afford our media leaders to be cozying up with the very people who want to destroy democracy, the very people who want to destroy blackness, the very people who want to destroy the LGBTQIA community, the very people who are destroying the migrant community, the very people who are actually, whose foreign policy helped create the problem, and now they're blaming the problem on the migrants. We cannot afford to have at the helm of the progressive media movement the only force out here that is willing to tell the truth, whether they like it or not. We simply cannot afford to have that be two individuals who I believe this video demonstrates they're absolutely going in the wrong direction. And you absolutely have the right to change your mind about supporting them.